I built an AI command center for my business using Claude Code. So it's fully customized based on how my brain works and how I work. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the overall structure, the thinking behind it, and some of the workflows running live. If we haven't met yet, my name is Hazel June, and I work with experts and thought leaders designing online programs, building AI powered resources, and teaching business owners how to leverage AI the non technical way. I started working with clients since 2018, and over the years, I've been trying to create a centralized system where I can document my progress, organize my to dos and priorities, and even review my numbers. I tried different platforms from Asana and all the other project management tools. I also bought a bunch of Notion templates, even played around with Notion AI, but I just couldn't make it work. There were certain things that I couldn't do because of the limitations of the platform. It was too manual, and some of them were just too much work to maintain. So, needless to say, I ended up not using them because they weren't really useful. I've been playing around with ChatGPT and some other AI tools since they came out, and I thought it would be a really good platform to build a command center. And so I built one. I even shared how I built it with one of the business communities I support. However, eventually I stopped using it because it wasn't delivering the kind of output and efficiency that I was looking for. So when I heard about Claude Code, I got super curious, but I resisted learning it and setting it up because it looks so damn scary. I mean, the whole interface looks freaking complicated. Back when the only way that you can access it is using a terminal. However, the more I learn about what you can do with Claude Code, the more I got interested in using it. And so I did. And in this video, I'm going to show you what I was able to build. Okay, now let's jump into my screen. But before I talk about the overall structure of my Claude Code workspace, I think it would be helpful for us to talk about how people actually use and access Claude Code. So there are different ways to access Claude Code. For me personally, because I'm not technical, I'm not a coder, I prefer the desktop app, which is this one that you're looking at on the right side of the screen. So if you notice, the desktop app has the chat tab, the co-work, which is a totally different thing within Claude, and of course, Claude Code. And I'm going to show you what that looked like in a bit. But when I started and how others use Claude Code is through a terminal. So for instance, for me, the workspace that I have for Claude Code is called the beta space. So this is the folder where I saved all of my notes, all of the stuff that I have within my business, all of the commands and workflows that I've mapped out within Claude Code. And so what I would do before I discovered the desktop app, because I believe when I first started Claude Code, the desktop app wasn't available yet, or if it was available, Claude Code can't be accessed through the app just yet. But before that, I would use and access Claude Code through a terminal. Just click the folder where you host all of your files or save all of your files that's within your business, and then click New Terminal at Folder. And what you want to do for me to log in, I just type in Claude so that it will automatically log in Claude. In case you're wondering why this looks white, it's because I'm using the light theme. So for most of the tutorials that you've seen, and probably when you start running your terminals or opening your terminals, you're going to see that it's black. I just changed something in the settings so that it's white because I prefer the light version. Okay, just for preference, nothing more. I used to use and access Claude Code through the terminal, and I would be able to use any of my commands, any of the workflows that I've set up through Claude Code through the terminal. However, let me just terminate that. However, when the desktop app became available and I can access Claude Code through there, then I started using the Claude Code app. And again, I'm going to show you in a bit what that looks like. But there are other ways that you can access Claude Code. I actually asked Claude why others prefer using Claude or accessing Claude using different platforms. So some people, and you've probably seen this in other tutorials, some people use VS Code, Cursor, or any other platform. And I asked Claude why that is. All right, now let me show you the overall structure of my Claude Code workspace, which is called the Badass Space, this photo right here, and the thinking behind it, and also the tech stack that I'm using. Okay. So my Badass Space, this folder is hosted or saved in my local drive right here, right? And as you can see, I have a bunch of different folders and a bunch of different notes. Now, the text files here or the MD files right here. So these are the files that were within Claude Code. That's the type of files that they are able to read, right? The markdown files. And for instance, for this task word MD file, it looks like this. So it's not scary. It's not scary at all, but it's not super friendly either. And so that's the reason why I use Obsidian. So I'm not checking or reviewing the notes or these files directly from this folder. I use Obsidian for that. And the reason is it just looks a whole lot cleaner. So it's very user friendly. Look at that. If you remember that dashboard that I showed you, this is how that looks like, right? That's how that looks like. This is the dashboard right here. Now, if I open that through Obsidian, look at how that looks. So freaking different. And so it's very user friendly. Also, you can check that off and stuff like that. You can format it the way you like, and it's just cleaner and organized. So whenever I have to check something within my files, I just go to Obsidian. I don't go here and check the files because I know that they're going to look like this. I personally don't prefer checking files like that. I prefer using Obsidian. So that's the reason why I always have Obsidian. It's because if there's anything I need to check within my files, then I can do that pretty easily. Okay. And if I need to organize and I don't need God to do the organizing for me, I just do it here within Obsidian. So if there's anything that I need to change, if there's like minor tweaks that I need to change, or if there's a folder I need to create, if there's a reorganization type of thing that I need to do within the workspace, I do that directly in Obsidian and I'll go here. Okay. And by the way, the things that I've mentioned, like reorganizing the files, making minor tweaks, Claude Code can do it for you. But because they're very minor stuff, I don't let Claude do it for me. Because I can do it myself, and it's a whole lot faster if I do it that way. Because again, they're minor. Like if I need to change the last question, it needs to ask me before we wrap things up for the day. I can just easily do that here. So I use Obsidian for that because again, it looks organized and it looks a whole lot cleaner compared to the Markdown files. But to run my workflows, I use the Claude Code desktop app. And like what I've mentioned earlier, you can only run one session here. So for instance, if I do need to run a couple of sessions, what I do is I go here and then right click and access a new terminal. So that way I have the terminal running, I have the desktop app running, so I can do those things. But it's very seldom that happens because I don't have a very complicated business. And so there's not a lot of things that I need them to do, if that makes sense. So that's the overall structure. Now let's go through the folders that I have and the different things I have added into my workspace. And then later I'm going to show you at least one workflow that I've run using Claude Code. Okay. So as you can see, I have my AI advisory board and it's divided into sessions and war rooms. So let me explain just very briefly what an AI advisory board is. An AI advisory board is a group of mentors and thought leaders, business thinkers that I wish I have access to every single day. So I have different mentors for different areas in business. So I have James Sexton for relationships and psychology. I have Tom Bellew for mindset and first principles thinking. I have Dan Henry for sales and pitches. I have Danielle Priestley for marketing. I have a bunch of different thought leaders and business thinkers, like the real freaking A players in the business game. So I've heard those folks, right? And I wish I have daily access to them. And so that's the reason why I've created an AI advisory board. And they're not the AI persona necessarily of those people, but what this does is that they leverage the frameworks and the thinking principles of those people and apply that to either a feedback or advice that I'm asking them. So, for instance, Benjamin Hardy is one of my AI advisors for 10x thinking. If there's a big decision that I need to make and I'm thinking small, Benjamin Hardy, the AI advisor that I have, will provide me advice or feedback based on the 10x thinking principle from his book, 10x is better than 2x. So there are certain frameworks and principles that they already teach, either through their books, their programs, or their YouTube channels or their websites. And what I did is I trained Claude Code on those frameworks and thinking principles so that if there's any situation that requires an advice or feedback from a certain area that they are good at, then I'm going to get it. Does that make sense? Because I follow a lot of great people, but I don't necessarily remember every single framework that I teach. And so I want to make sure that I will be able to consistently embody the principles or implement the principles and concepts that they teach so that I set up myself up for success. So that's what this do. And I have the sessions listed here. So whenever I have an AI advisory board meeting, that's logged here. And then the one room, what this does is that, for example, there's a scenario that I'm not really confident in or I'm not really sure about. And I would want one AI advisor to talk about one aspect of that scenario, and then I have another AI advisor to talk about a different aspect of the scenario. So the war room is like a debate meetings between different AI advisors whose experience and frameworks apply to the scenario that I'm currently in and that I need advice on. They're going to debate so that all of the perspectives are covered. So that's what the war room is for. And then I have the content library because I'm getting back into the content creation game. And so I've created a content library so that all of the content that I've created lives here. That means if I need Claude Code to check the email that I sent a couple of weeks ago or the YouTube video that I did a couple of weeks ago, it could give me answers. So I can always query Claude Code on certain things like that. So that's what this content library is for. It's categorized based on the platform. The content ideas, now this one is interesting. And I'm going to talk about this when I talk about the content studio. One of the workflows that I have is a content creation workflow. I have teammates set up within my Claude Code workspace. So I have an email copywriter and I have a YouTube strategist. So both of them are involved in the content creation workflow. So when one part of the content creation workflow is they're going to come up with ideas on what content, what emails I could write about, what topics I could talk about for my YouTube videos. And they're going to send 5 ideas every time I run the content creation workflow. I'm going to pick one for an email newsletter. I'm going to pick one for my YouTube video. Now, for the 3 ideas that I did not pick, that's what's going in here, the content ideas vault. That way, I don't lose any good recommendations just because there's something better when it was recommended. And so that's what this is for. And I want to make sure that I just keep track of all those recommendations. So the content studio, the way it's different from the content library, the content library is where I store all of the published campaigns, newsletters, and YouTube videos. The content studio is where I actively work on a certain type of content. So for instance, I have a couple of things here in my draft folder. So meaning I'm actively working on these 2 things. Okay, now let's look at the context folder. So in the context folder, I have notes for business, current data, personal info, process notes, and strategy. So the context folder, what this does is it gives Claude Code context about me, about my business, the projects I'm working on, and the different things about my business. So business info, obviously, all of the things about my business. Current data, these are the current numbers that I have across the business. So like email open rates, prospecting or outreach numbers, all of that good stuff. So that's right here in the current data. Personal info, and I'm sorry, I'm not showing you guys that because those are obviously private information that I don't wish to share. Personal info, any personal information about me that I believe Claude Code needs to be aware of in order for it to function properly. Now, the process notes, it's a running log of sessions, decisions, and context updates that I've done across my workspace so that we keep track and we monitor all of the things that we update. Because here's the thing, this workspace is not a one and done thing. I'm constantly iterating, refining, and making this workspace better. Because there are certain things, and if you also create a command center like this, you're going to find and you're going to discover that there are certain things that could be improved, or there are certain things that need to change within your processes or your workflows. Or there's something new that you can automate or that you can delegate to Claude Code, a skill or a task that you can let Claude Code do. So it's always a work in progress. And so in order for us to keep track of all of the changes, that's what this is for. And then I have strategy. And for privacy, I'm not going to show you what this is, but the strategy thing, the strategy here is the business strategy that I'm focused on or that I'm locked in for this year or for a certain period of time. For me personally, the one that I have here is my goal for this year, my business goal for this year. Also, the marketing or business strategy that I'm focused on. That's what's here. Because that's context that my Claude Code needs in order to give me relevant information and advice. Now let's talk about daily notes. Within the daily notes, I have end of day logs and my journaling thing. So in my journaling thing, it's a folder where I can add any thinking out loud ideas that I want to expound on or revisit later. Or it could be an idea that I thought of and I expounded it. So the thinking behind this, I would love to have a collection of the different ideas, strategies, concepts that I thought about, and I want it to be here. So whenever I have an idea, I would love to jot them down here. EOD logs, and you can see there's already a bunch of them. So at the end of every day, I have a command called wrap up. And in that command, I share and I document my stop, start, continue for the day, what's top of mind for me for the day, what are the results that I've gotten for the day, what are the wins, all of that good stuff. So anything I want to brain dump, that's what it's for really. I want to brain dump everything that happened on that day so that I don't have to continue thinking about it the following day or during bedtime. So that's what this is for. Now, the stop, start, continue, I can talk more about this in detail, but the stop, start, continue is a coaching framework that I've learned in corporate. It's actually 3 questions that I ask myself. So based on everything that has happened today, what will you stop doing? What will you start doing? And what will you do differently? So that's basically the stop, start, continue. What will you stop doing? What will you start doing? What will you do differently? So I answer those questions every damn day at the end of every day. Okay. Because I just want to document those things. And then I have meetings. So I have my board meetings. The board meetings, this is actually a new one that I just added. So that's the reason we can't see anything here yet. But the board meeting, I want to do a monthly personal board meeting with myself, revisiting where I'm at, how far I am to my goal, the projects that I'm currently working on, what are my priorities for the following month, the growth uni coaching calls. So I'm currently enrolled in a coaching program. And so that's the reason why I want to do a documentation of things that I'm learning, the things that we're working on, stuff like that. So that's what this is about. Sales conversations, if there's any sales calls that I do, that's what this is about. So plans. So there's a command within my workspace where if there's any major change that I want to do within the workspace, I will ask Claude Code to create a plan first so that I can review the plan. And if it makes sense and if it's aligned to what we talk about, Claude Code will implement it. So the plans here are just log of all of the plans that Claude Code came up with before we actually implemented them. Review pipeline. So the review pipeline, this is for any work, client project, content that I need to review. Okay, so next up is Pin Project. So Pin Project is the name of my business. I have my brand playbook here, like for the newsletter, the branding playbook, for my YouTube channel, and then my IP vet, my story, RES inventory. RES stands for results, experience, skills, or story. Basically, it's an inventory of everything that I was able to do, the skills I was able to gain, my background, all of that good stuff. So I have that in my IP vet, and whenever there's a framework that I created, or if there's anything that I need to, that I can monetize, real a methodology that I discovered and I'm currently using, that's where I plan to put them here. So I have a bunch of notes actually in different platforms that I haven't saved here yet. So that's the next thing that I need to do is to revisit all of my notes in my Google Drive, in my Evernote, in Trello, in Asana. I have a bunch of different things across different platforms. And so I want to revisit those and add them here. So that's what's basically what this is about. And then I'll have the bonus-based user guide. The reason why I created this is because I build and I continue to build this command center. I realize that I'm starting to forget things. I'm starting to forget the freaking commands. I'm starting to forget about what a specific server is about, and so on and so forth. And so I asked Claude to create a user guide for me. That way I can just revisit this if I need to. For instance, I forgot about certain things, I can just look at it. So the plot.md file, this is what they say is the most important file in your workspace folder. The reason for that is because that's the file that Claude Code reads every single time. Claude Code is not going to read every single folder, every single file in your workspace or in your command center, but it will always read the Claude.md file every time it starts the session. So it's critical that you add all of the relevant and important information that Claude Code needs to know about you and your business every time it starts a session. So that's what that is. I actually asked Claude Code to do that for me. Scheduled tasks, I have certain things here that I have scheduled. These are some of the tasks. So I have a workspace audit because I want to make sure as I continue to build the command center, I want to make sure that it's aligned, it's 100% accurate across all folders. There's no contradicting information. There's no outdated information. That's the reason why I have the workspace audit scheduled every 2 weeks. And then, like what I've mentioned, I have an end of day debrief. I have a weekly review, an end of week debrief to review the past week and also plan for the following week. And then I have a writing session, which is my content creation workflow, which I'm going to show you today. And then Scratchpad is where I just jot down notes and ideas and all of that stuff that's running in my head. Then I have my task board, of course. These were exported by Claude Code from my Google Calendar because I've connected my Google Calendar to Claude Code. So Claude Code can see all of the events on my calendar. So I have all of that good stuff there. Okay, so that's basically what everything is about, the overall structure. So I hope that is helpful for you. So I've mentioned that I have different commands. I have different teammates and I have my AI advisory board, right? So those are like the things that I have set up in my command center as of this time. Okay, so let me show you how you're able to complete a certain workflow or run a certain task using Claude Code. So right now I'm using the desktop app, which is the one that you're seeing on the right hand side of your screen. So for instance, if I want to do my end of day debrief, I just type slash and then I type wrap up. Wrap up is there we go. So if I type wrap up, Claude Code automatically will know that what I'm about to type is for this particular command. Okay. If I need to speak with my email copywriter, I think I have email. There we go. So there's my email copywriter, my teammate, email copywriter. If I need to speak with my YouTube strategist, there we go. I have my YouTube strategist. I have other, actually, I think it would be helpful for you to see that too. I have my chief of staff, my CFO, a lot of different teammates. So it really depends on you, what teammates you want to have, what team members will actually help you run your business. Now, in full transparency, I haven't fleshed out all of those team members, like my CFO. My CFO is not trained yet, but I have it there set up. I'm supposed to train my CFO in the next few days. All right, now let me show you one of the workflows. So instead of a live demo, I figured it would be nice to just show you what has happened. So this is my writing session, right? This one. This writing session is my content creation workflow. So when I type writing session, Claude knows what that command is for. Claude knows what that particular workflow is for, okay? So if you notice, it started reading some of the applicable files. And then once it's done, it started with phase one, which is idea mining. By the way, if you notice, it's going to read certain files. So it reads my EOD logs because part of this workflow is for Claude Code to read the last 7-day logs that I have for my EODs, because those are recent things, recent projects that I'm working on. And we can get ideas from those logs on what I can talk about. It also reads my Scratchpad because sometimes there are certain ideas or concepts that I'm exploring. It also reads my task board because that helps them see what I'm personally working on for the past 7 days. Okay, so that's what it's reading. It also reads my AI advisory board sessions. Okay, so phase one is idea mining. So if you notice, 2 of my team members, my email copywriter and my YouTube strategist, mined the things that happened that week. It started pulling certain things from my logs, even flagging certain things. Phase two is recommendations. This is what I was telling you guys about. So it will recommend certain ideas. We'll recommend 5 ideas, and each idea needs to have the format, content pillar, why it was recommended, the priority score, the thinking behind the recommendation, and a quick note, like a quick recommendation or advice. And this is really helpful because it's just very insightful, just gives me so much insights on what this idea is about. Oh, and if you notice, at the time that it gave the first time was inaccurate. And so I just give it advice or feedback. And you're going to encounter these things like minor inaccuracies or minor things that may cause a certain disruption or inaccurate things on your workflow. So you need to flag those and get it corrected. Okay. So if you notice, I said, let's do idea 3 and 4. Once I picked the ideas, the next step is for the email copywriter and my YouTube strategist to flesh out that content idea. So they're going to say, for instance, for email copywriter, it's going to come up with subject line recommendations. It's going to come up with the outline for the email. So YouTube strategist is going to recommend video titles and an outline, like bullet points of what I'm going to talk about in that video. And if for any reason they need further context, they would need to ask me a question. And this is what these questions are for. These are some information that they need from me in order for them to do their job. Okay. And this is also part of the workflow that I mapped out for them. And so once they're done, this is where this content studio comes in. So if you notice, for instance, this is, I think this for, yeah. So this is the content stuff for this particular video. So if you notice, gives me all of the title options, right? 3 title options. And then give me a video outline and certain, the CTA as well. And then some notes, some helpful notes on certain things for the video. And then what I do is I would script it based on the outline. It's very important to me that they give me the outline and not the actual script or the actual email copy, because I want to make sure that I'm still the one scripting my videos. I'm still the one writing my emails. So that's the overall structure and a walkthrough of the workflow. So I hope that was really helpful for you. Obviously, this is an ongoing build. I do have a scheduled task, like what I've mentioned, where Claude Code is going to do a maintenance audit of the entire command center just to make sure everything is accurate, up to date, and optimized across different folders and different areas in the business. I'm documenting everything, what works, what breaks, what I'm learning as I build this inside a real business. So if that's helpful or useful for you, make sure to hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.